Welcome to the Arts Music Store Canadian Gear Guide, where we're going to showcase the latest and greatest in music gear available here in Canada. Today we're going to be talking about some PRS guitars, the SE Custom 24 Quilt Maple Tops. These guys are going to have a mahogany body with a maple top and a quilt maple veneer on the body and headstock. We're going to showcase a few colors off, and we're going to talk about some of the features they have. First off, we've got this violet quilt maple. This bad boy, along with the other ones, has got a 10-inch radius with a rosewood fingerboard. You've got essentially PRS everything. They do their own tuners, their own pickups, their own trem systems, the works. All these guitars are loaded with the 8515S pickups. There's a handful of guitars across their line that share these pickups, and I actually have them in my S2 model as well. That's an S2 McCarty thin line. Fantastic American-made guitar, shares the same pickups as these guys do, so I'm very familiar with the sound, and hopefully this will translate right through with my tone of my board. So we'll dive into some tones and we'll see how these guys sound. We're going to start with some spacier kind of tones for those pedal-friendly guys that like to do some kind of dreamier stuff. I know that there's a lot of people that use single coil style pickups for this kind of music. We're going to start on some of the humbucker tones, and then I'm actually going to pop that switch at the back to engage the single coils. All these models have an option to go to single coil mode as well. There is one little treat in here with a limited edition version that has a couple extra switches, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So first off, we'll check this out on the mid pickup here. Right in the middle, we're gonna have a couple pedals involved. It's essentially just two reverbs stacking on each other for some extra, shoegazy kind of stuff. So let's dive in here. Of a loop going here, we'll showcase how it sounds cutting through a mix here with some leads. We need a little more volume on that. Let's get a boost going. Pop the coil out so you can hear what the single coil sounds like on leads. Really thin in comparison. I mean, that's easy. Translates right into it. That easily translated onto my pedal board. That sounded good. You can really hear the difference between the humbuckers and the single coils when we are on that lead side of stuff. Definitely thins it out, gives you a much more kind of, a little thinner, kind of shrill sound at points. But I'm sure if I dialed that in a bit better, it would sound a little sweeter. Let's just hear that without the backing track. Volume jump actually, so maybe that might not be something you could utilize in a live setting, but absolutely for your tonal variations, it's got a lot of potential there. amazing amount of bottom end that comes in once you engage that humbucker. As expected, you're doubling up the coil, but it's a pretty big difference. So that should give you a lot of tonal variations there. I'm going to switch on to a little more of a distorted channel and throw off some of these effects and see what this guy sounds like if you're trying to do some like kind of lighter gain, maybe medium classic rock stuff. Sounds pretty good. We're gonna kind of roll the volume and tone off back a little bit, kind of take off the high end, but also see if we can lighten up that gain and see how touch sensitive this is. It's not bad. Won't be. There's actually a lot of potential in that tone knob. There's some guitars where as you start to roll the tone off, you lose a lot of volume, but this retains the volume nicely. Allows me to bring out some of the dynamics there. Really control the high end and the shrillness on some guitars. That is something I personally struggle with, going from home setups to setups jamming in here and stuff like that. I tend to have a little darker of a room at home, so I tend to blast my highs a little bit more. So having control of that over a very responsive tone knob is a big plus for me personally as a guitar player, I should say. Maybe not for everybody if you're not a rider and you just are full blast all the time, but different strokes for different folks, right? Let's blast this up into some higher gain areas and see how it handles that just on a straight bridge pickup kind of deal. I mean, that sounds pretty badass to me. It does everything you'd want to as far as high gain goes. Play a couple more riffs here, and maybe we'll check out the single coil mode a little bit more throughout the cleans and stuff like that. We've really focused on the humbucker. Let's check out the cleans, and maybe we'll switch guitars and I'll show you what that other model has to offer as far as the pickups and stuff. So why don't we switch over to that now, actually. All right, so we switched guitars here. Now we have the PRS, still a Custom 24, it's a 2408. This is one of the limited edition models that we have here, along with one other one that I'll kind of show off a little bit more. This is in the Quilt Charcoal. No, it's not. That's the other one over there. This is in the Quilt Faded Blue. Beautiful guitar. This was actually the first Quilt model that we got in. Very, very sharp instrument with a nice matching headstock. We had similar ones that were in a maple top finish. They didn't have the matching headstock. I think that these matching headstocks just set it off. I'm an aesthetics guy, and the things that matter to me may not matter to other people, but I gotta be excited to own the guitar, and these are guitars that I would definitely be excited to own. They look fantastic, they play great, they sound pretty darn good as well. If they're gonna keep up with some of the American models, how can you go wrong in that sense, right? So you save some money, you buy something that's made overseas that still has a lot of the same components, and is still a great build quality. A little fun fact here at the Arts Music Store, we QC all of the PRS guitars within a couple days of them arriving at the store. So there's a good chance that your guitar, before it ever, even saw the floor, got a look over by one of us, and it's going to be in good shape. So if it's been looked over by one of us, it's been looked over by a PRS tech, usually you're going to run into a pretty darn good instrument there. We're going to check this bad boy out. I know I said we're going to start in some single coils, but I still want to play something a little heavier, so we'll start in the heavy range, and then we'll throw it to single coil mode, and we'll go from there. It might be pickup height, but funny enough, this one sounds like it doesn't have quite as much bite to it. It'll be something I'll look into a little bit after the video, but it has a little more clarity throughout it, which is a fun quirk. One guitar to the next, even with the same mahogany maple pairing, every guitar sounds unique and every guitar sounds different. So this one's got a little bit different mojo, so this will be fun to play. Well, it can definitely handle some heavier tunes like, some turnstile riffs and stuff like that. I'm just going to check my tuning here real quick. And maybe we'll get into some pop punk riffs. I know I personally am playing a fair bit of pop punk these days, and I am seeing more and more PRS guitars end up in people's hands that are in the, indie-ish, kind of pop-ish range. I love to see it too, because that means a lot of people are playing some good quality guitars and getting good tone on an affordable price point, and getting guitars that they feel comfortable taking on stage, taking into a studio, recording with, and essentially putting their sound and their tone in PRS's hands in that sense. So that's nice to see from obviously from a music store perspective, because people trust the brand. Just like with Fender and Gibson over the years, people are trusting PRS as a brand and are getting good results from it. So let's hear maybe a little bit of pop punk style riffs and see how that sounds. I've listened to that Cold Front album tons of times. That's pretty darn close to the way it sounds. There's a great note definition and clarity as we're playing some of these. Like you can hear every... That's almost a percussive. You can hear that bottom end, you can hear the top end spike. I mean, that sounds great. That's exactly what I would be looking for out of a pop punk riff. A good amount of gain, a nice tight bottom end to it, and tons of tone. We'll lighten it up a little bit more. We'll go back to some of the lighter stuff, and we'll start engaging some pickup options here. So this guitar, like I mentioned, has a little different setup. Instead of a push-pull on the tone knob, this has two switches instead. Similar to the 35th anniversary Paul's guitars, where they had the option of splitting one or the other, so you can go hum single, 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 single hum, whatever you wanted kind of thing. So it gives you options in that sense. You get a little bit more versatility. We'll go into a hum single option right now into that middle position, and it'll give us, you know, kind of, well, what guitars out there have a natural hum single? I guess some HSS Strats are going to be in that position, you know what I mean? Not too many Tellys out there have a hum single. Maybe like no, even the John 5s that I can think of are both hums. So we'll check that out, which, I mean, in that sense, it gives you a lot of extra versatility. So let's check what that sounds like here right now on that middle section. So again, we're going humbucker single. Singles. We'll swap it up, we'll go single hum. I actually really like the single hum setting. It brought out a lot of the high end. It made it like really nice and chimey, not shrill. That's fantastic. Good. I really like that actually. Humbucker in the neck with the single in the back. I guess why there's a ton of Tellys loaded that way, and they've been doing it since the 70s. So it's funny that I just naturally stumble upon liking that with this setup, and it's been a staple for years. So I understand why. I understand why. I like that clean setting. Let's go into double single mode so you can kind of hear what it sounds like if we're doing like a Telly-ish, maybe spanky tone with a little bit of bite to it. Need all that reverb though. It's definitely spanky. It does the spanky kind of thing. Is it, you know, as characteristic as a Telly? Maybe not, but we can't expect that out of a humbucker splitting. So It's definitely got a very usable tone, a very workable tone, and it does have its own flavor and character to it. So that's definitely something that you could utilize if you wanted something, you know, you're playing a gig and you're going to be playing some, you know, bigger rock and things like that, and then you're going to kick back and play a little more lighter kind of tune with a little more sultry soulness or something like that to it. That's, you know, that's a perfect spot to flop into single coil mode, so you can definitely pull that off. Let's hear what just the neck sounds like by itself. Got that same kind of spank just like the other side does. I mean, very similar kind of tone as you would expect. Same pickups, just a little bit more, you know, more kind of what plunkiness kind of thing, maybe a little rounderness, little scoop to the tone kind of deal. We'll hit that with a tube screamer. We'll do that tube screamer side again. We'll engage a tube screamer here, see if it does some spankier tones. Well, it definitely spanks it up, and it has that more, like, we'll say in the, you know, in the ballpark of the SRV stuff. Maybe it's not exactly hitting it the way, you know, a Strat and a classic like tube screamer kind of thing would, but we're not doing bad here with the Looking Glass and a precision drive. So we're in the ballpark, right? It does the bite. It's what you would expect out of it, kind of thing. Lots of versatility out of these guitars. I like them. I've always been a fan of these SE models from PRS. They're a great value for the build. With PRS doing a lot of stuff in-house, you know, you're able to get a good quality guitar out for sometimes a little bit more manageable price point. All of these guys as well come with a PRS branded gig bag, so that's a great bonus. You don't have to worry about, you know, bringing it to and from and all your travels and all that kind of jazz. And it just looks great with the guitar. Nothing like having a matching gig bag or case to kind of go with your instruments. So we've seen the violet, we've seen the faded blue, not the charcoal. So let's check out the charcoal next. We'll just give you a quick, you know, visual overview of it, and then we'll check out one last model that is extremely appealing, which you might be able to see in the corner there. So there is the Quilt charcoal model. It's a fantastic quilt to this one, very sharp, matching headstock like we've been talking about. This has been a very eye-catching guitar in the store. We've had it displayed near the front, and it is turning a lot of heads. Very impressive guitar. Just like the first model, the Violet, like we mentioned, it's got the coil split option, so you do have the versatility there. Maybe not quite as much as the other limited model, but this one still is doing the trick. This one won't be around very, very long as well. It is limited as well. How many as wells can I say there? It is going to be limited. It is limited. It's already limited. I'm off the rails. Let's go to the teal model. This might be the sharpest one of them all. This is the beautiful teal. Needless to say, it is eye-catching, it pops, it's got the matching headstock. I mean, if you're a fan of this color, and I mean, I'm a fan of this color, I own tons of green guitars, this one might tickle your fancy. Like the others, it's got a beautiful quilt to it. These are all quilt veneers, so they're not gonna look, you know, subpar. Typically, you're gonna get a nice look to them. I don't know what more you could want out of these guitars. I mean, maybe down the line, if you're really playing on stage a fair amount, you could, you know, upgrade with some PRS locking tuners or throw some higher end pickups in here. But as far as these guitars go, I mean, great bang for your buck. They sound good. They've got all the versatility you could want out of an instrument that's, you know, sub $2,000 kind of thing. With a gig bag, you literally buy one and you're ready to go rock right out of the store. So the PRS SE Custom models in these quilt tops are definitely a good little piece of gear to pick up. This has been the Arts Music Store Canadian Gear Guide. My name is Shane. Thanks for checking us out, and we'll see you again next week. Cheers. My guitar playing at the end was trash.